the grandma who learned to code at 80. At the heart of a bustling American suburb, where the streets hum with the rhythm of daily life and the seasons paint the trees in ever-changing colors, lived an extraordinary woman named Eleanor. She was the archetype of every loving grandmother. Her silver hair curled softly around her gentle face, her hands bore the marks of decades spent kneading bread and mending clothes, and her eyes sparkled with a wisdom that only comes from a life well lived. Eleanor had seen the world change in ways few could imagine. She'd grown up during a time when televisions were a novelty, when letters took days to arrive by post, and when the idea of communicating across continents in an instant belonged strictly to the realm of science fiction. Eleanor's life had been shaped by resilience and a quiet determination. She had raised 3 children almost single-handedly after her husband's untimely passing, and she'd worked as a librarian in the local public library for most of her adult years. She loved stories, the way they could build bridges between strangers, open minds, and heal hearts. In her retirement, she filled her days with gardening, baking, and doting on her grandchildren. She was content, at peace with the gentle rhythm of her days. But beneath Eleanor's calm exterior was a restless curiosity, a hunger to understand the world as it continued to evolve around her, even as she grew older. She watched her grandchildren, Lily and Max, tap and swipe their way across tablets and smartphones, speaking a language of technology that seemed almost foreign to her. She listened as her children and their spouses discussed apps, websites, and algorithms over Sunday dinners. She'd always been the storyteller, but increasingly, she found herself on the outside, listening to tales she didn't quite understand. One chilly autumn afternoon, as golden leaves drifted past her window, Eleanor received a call from Lily, her eldest granddaughter. Lily was 10 years old, bright as a button, and bursting with enthusiasm. She was working on a school project, a simple computer game she was designing herself, and she wanted to show her grandmother how it worked. Eleanor listened intently as Lily explained, her voice crackling with excitement. She talked about blocks of code, logic, and variables. Eleanor did her best to follow, but the words slipped through her fingers like water. When Lily asked if she wanted to try creating her own game, Eleanor hesitated. She'd never so much as opened a coding program before. The very idea was intimidating. After the call ended, Eleanor sat by the window, pondering the conversation. She realized, with a pang, that the world was moving faster than she could keep up with. But something in Lily's voice, the invitation, the hope, sparked a memory within her. She thought back to her own childhood, when her father had taught her to ride a bicycle. She'd been terrified, certain she would fall, but he'd encouraged her to keep trying, to get back up every time. She remembered the thrill of finally finding her balance, the wind in her hair as she pedaled down the street. Learning to code, she imagined, might be just like learning to ride that bike. The next morning, Eleanor made a decision. She would learn to code. It didn't matter that she was 80 years old. It didn't matter that she'd never touched a coding book in her life. She wanted to bridge the gap between her world and her grandchildren's, to share in their excitement and understand the language of their future. Her first step was to visit the local library, the very place where she'd spent decades nurturing young minds. She approached the information desk, where a young librarian named Sam greeted her with a warm smile. Eleanor explained her mission. She wanted to learn how to code, from the very beginning. Sam's eyes widened in delight. He recommended a few beginner-friendly books and websites, and helped Eleanor create an account on an online coding platform. Eleanor started with the basics. She familiarized herself with words like algorithm, syntax, and function. The logic was foreign at first. Lines of code seemed like a jumble of symbols and rules. She made mistakes, lots of them. Sometimes her programs wouldn't run, and error messages flashed across the screen, leaving her frustrated and uncertain. But Eleanor refused to give up. She remembered the lessons of her youth: perseverance, patience, and the willingness to try again. She set a routine, devoting an hour every morning to her studies. She took notes in a spiral-bound notebook, jotting down questions to ask Lily or Sam. She watched video tutorials, pausing and rewinding when she didn't understand. She even joined an online forum for new coders, where she found encouragement from people of all ages and backgrounds. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the pieces began to fall into place. Eleanor wrote her first, Hello, World, program, a tiny, triumphant step into a new universe. She learned how to create loops and conditional statements, how to store information in variables, and how to build simple interactive games. Each small victory filled her with a sense of accomplishment she hadn't felt in years. One afternoon, after weeks of practice, Eleanor decided to surprise Lily. She created a basic memory game using her newfound skills, a digital version of the classic card game they used to play together. She filled the cards with pictures of family members, favorite pets, and beloved storybook characters. When she called Lily to show her the game, the little girl's eyes grew wide with delight. "Grandma, you made this?" Lily exclaimed. Eleanor nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "I did. I wanted to learn your language, so we could play together, even when we're apart." Lily beamed, and in that moment, the distance between their worlds disappeared. The game became a new tradition, a way for them to stay connected, to share laughter and memories across screens and miles. As months passed, Eleanor's confidence grew. She ventured into more complex projects, building a website to share her favorite family recipes, complete with photos and stories for each dish. She joined a local coding club for seniors, where she met others who were also eager to learn. Together, they tackled challenges, celebrated successes, and supported one another through setbacks. Eleanor's journey did not go unnoticed. Her family marveled at her determination. Friends from the library stopped by to ask for lessons, inspired by her example. News of the coding grandma spread through the community, sparking curiosity and admiration. But for Eleanor, the greatest reward was the sense of purpose and connection she found in her new pursuit. She discovered that learning was not the exclusive domain of the young, that the spark of curiosity could be kindled at any age, and that the world was full of possibilities for those brave enough to embrace them. Through her efforts, Eleanor taught her family, and her entire community, a profound lesson, that it is never too late to learn, never too late to grow, and never too late to bridge the gaps that separate us. She showed that the barriers we perceive, age, technology, uncertainty, are often only as real as we allow them to be. Eleanor's story became a beacon of hope, reminding everyone that with determination, patience, and a willingness to begin, we can write new chapters in our lives, no matter how many pages have come before. As she sat at her computer each morning, her fingers dancing across the keyboard, Eleanor knew she had become not just a learner, but a pioneer, a storyteller in a new language, weaving together the threads of past and future into a tapestry more vibrant and enduring than she could have ever imagined. For in the end, the most inspiring stories are not those of grand achievements or impossible feats, but of ordinary people who dare to try, who choose to learn, and who open their hearts to the wonders that await them, at any age, in any time, with every new day.